All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for Monday, the 8th of April, 2019. Well, hope everyone had a nice weekend. I was able to get some broccoli transplants in the ground, which was nice. Broccolis are they like the cold, so I'm not concerned about that. I bought some onion sets too, and I'm going to try and go out today, but I don't know. It's supposed to rain pretty much for most of the day, so I don't know if I'll get out there or not. I'm also not really sure yet where I'm going to put them, what beds I'm going to use for that. I'm going to shift things around in the garden this year a little bit, so I don't know. I have to look at that a little more maybe because the winter bed is actually where I put my onions, and I've got spinach growing and kale, and now there's broccoli in it. So I don't think I can do that now. I sort of messed myself up there. So anyhow, so hopefully you all were able to get outside and do some things and get out of the Wi-Fi. If you have Wi-Fi going in your house, it's not the healthiest place to be. So during the summer months, I try to spend most of my time outside. I don't, in the winter, it's a little harder, but even with that, you have to get out and away from it. It's just too much. We had internet was off last week for the whole day. And in that process, somehow or another, the cable going from my modem to my wireless router broke. And so I was having trouble. And Friday night, I called them, and this lady, she wasn't listening. And I don't know. Anyhow, I knew it was the cable. She kept telling me it was our router. It wasn't. It was the cable. And so I replaced the cable, and all things are fine now. So that wasn't what the case was, though, last week. Last week, it was an area-wide outage, and maybe just it was a cable that the cable company actually gave me when they installed the new modem. And when I got the new router, I just plugged it into it. So, it was that way from them. So it was probably an old cable, or it was just one that couldn't be twisted around at all, and you should be able to move cable. You should be able to move things around. The cable shouldn't be so fragile, so clearly there was something broken inside or about to break or something anyhow. And just moving the modem to where I could see it, just a few inches evidently did the trick because it broke it all the way. And then I just said, you know what, I'm going to replace that cable. That little voice comes in, replace the cable. So I did. And then when I got on this computer this morning to do this, I didn't have internet. And I thought, oh, crap. So I went over there. Oh, no, all lights are on. So I thought, well, I haven't opened this computer since Friday. So, maybe, So I went and I looked, and sure enough, the troubleshooting came up, and it said broken cable fixed. I was right. Not bad for an old lady, huh? Life doesn't always go that simply for me, believe me, but it did that day. But she wasn't listening. And it's like, and then she's like, and if we send somebody out there and you have no problem, we're going to charge you $60 an hour to do that. To tell you that. I'm like, oh my God. Thank you. I'm so glad I switched to direct TV for the rest of it. You don't get that when you deal with them. They just help you. I don't know why cable companies have to be like this. Sometimes you get somebody that's good, and sometimes you get someone that just doesn't hear what you're saying. So, I don't know. Well, that's enough of that. We all have our own cable nightmares, don't we? It's the one given in our lives, isn't it? If you're going to have to deal with your cable company, it's a very stressful experience, and you know it going in. And if you don't have that, oh my God, don't tell anyone, because everyone will move to where you live. Just be able to not experience cable nightmares, because I've had them. I don't care. This company that we have, I don't even know how many people have owned it. Maybe this might be the third or fourth owner of it. It just keeps changing hands here. I don't know. Maybe it's the third. It seems like this is the third, but we had a family own it for a while, quite a while, and varying levels of, but they were local. And then they sold to something else, and I'm not sure what that is. And we thought at first it was going to be better, but no. So anyhow, if you have a great cable company, you're so blessed. Send them thank you cards, truly, because I think it's probably a rarity out there. Anyhow, if this is your first time here, thanks for stopping by. I probably won't bitch about my cable tomorrow, but you never know. Anyhow, just remember you have a cable problem, and your router and your modem are both bringing up lights when the cable company says, yeah, everything's fine. Just change your cable. That will likely take care of it. So, witch tip for the day. Anyhow, thanks for stopping by. Let's get going and see what we have for today. About dropped a card there. So if you haven't been here before, I take the 13th card. It's just my process. I want this to be random, and I'll do 3 cards today. One day I did 4. That was a really interesting one too. And then I'll draw a rune, and then we'll take a look at what it all says. So anyhow, well, we'll take a look as we go, but then we'll look at the whole thing. Well, here I love how tarot portrays women. I always, when I get a new deck, I always check out to see the queens, and I check out to see all of the women in it to make sure that I like what they've done. But here we have the 9 of Pentacles. And again, we're getting a lot of Pentacle cards lately, a lot of concern over our finances, our financial security. It can also have to do with health. It can have to do with family. Anything that's not your will, your intellect, or your emotions, everything else falls under earth. Because everything else is just our foundation, and then our will and our emotions and our intellect is how we navigate all of that, really. But here we have a lovely woman. She's a woman of means, likely the queen. I love her gown. Don't you just, well, that's not the gown, it's her robe, actually. I love that. That's just gorgeous. And she's out in the, 9 is about completion. And so today we have an 8 day, which is being the 8, it's a day of greater awareness of the greater unified consciousness. It's about leadership. It's about the higher self really informing the process. It's about unity consciousness, being aware of doing things not just for the self, but to benefit others. And then here we come to the 9, which is completion. And so she's really living a settled life, isn't she? You see the oak leaves behind her, depicting strength. I'm not sure, excuse me, I'm not sure. Well, we see grapes in the background, but I'm not sure what the flower is depicted, or if that's a strawberry that's depicted on her gown or on her robe. But she's holding her falcon. So basically she's out, with everyone, and they're out on a hunt, basically. Because the falcon didn't just sort of randomly drop by. She's got her glove on. So this is likely royalty, or at least a woman of means, or she's the queen and she's out with everyone on the hunt. That was something that royalty, I would assume they still do, but they used to do. In days of old, they would take their falcons out, their birds, and they would go out and they do a hunt. They'd also do fox hunts with dogs and things, but hunting with birds was very common. I just love this card, though. So maybe we're just experiencing a time of being settled, We're a little more secure right now. But let's draw another card here. I want to take a look, though, really quick to make sure there's nothing that I've missed here. But basically, this is talking about abundance and achieving a sense of peace and security, and you don't really have to worry, you know, anymore. Yeah, I mean, it's about wealth and prosperity, but it's also about extending and receiving blessings. Again, you see the two trees in the background. In a sense, that's a doorway. You can look at it that way, a doorway into maybe even new experiences, because now we have the sense of completion here. So maybe there's something new on the horizon. Community, legacy. So yeah, I mean, but what does that have to do with anything? Okay, so we're feeling settled. That's good. You know, things have been in such flux. Maybe things are coming together for you right now. So that was supposed to happen this month, I thought. You know, both the geomancy reading and the monthly tarot reading seem to be pointing toward that we're going to be exploring new opportunities. So maybe we're on the precipice of that with those two trees in the background. Maybe we're looking at some new opportunities we have, and we're well prepared for that, perhaps. So we'll keep that card as the first card. Sometimes I'll go and I'll move them around and see if maybe it makes a little more sense. Sometimes, you know, when I pull these cards, then maybe I pull the last card first, you know, you just don't know. So let's take a look at another card though and see what we really are talking about here with the Nine of Pentacles today. Well, another Pentacle card, it's the Queen of Pentacles. Again, very similar in nature. We see the Alabaster Mountains in behind, and we see her, I mean, in a sense, she's in a doorway, but in a sense, she's in a sanctuary. And she's just sort of, you know, being very pensive. She's looking down at the wealth in her hands. She's surrounded again. You know, we see, I'm going to put the cards down here because I'm going to hold both cards up. You see oak leaves in both. You see down there, you can see all the oak leaves down there. So we're talking about strength and authority. So again, the oak leaves represent her authority, but her authority, instead of being authoritarian, is very quiet and loving and benevolent. So again, I think we're talking about the same woman here. But again, she kind of seems to be in her own thing. So maybe not so much aware of others. And when she's not really at her best, you know, sometimes she is about herself. But typically, the Queen of Pentacles is your Earth Mother. She's somebody that is going to be loving and benevolent and kind and nurturing. She represents fertility and abundance. Yes, she's the queen, but she generally doesn't express herself in a way that's arrogant or flighty or passive aggressive or anything like that. She's not particularly willful, although she will, you know, protect the tribe if she needs to. So she's not going to take any crap because she is a queen, mind you. But she's also, you know, she's going to be benevolent. She's going to be the mother. She's going to be the one that's going to think about the bigger picture, as opposed to the king, which, you know, it's not like they can't. It's just all too often they don't. So let's draw a third card. Well, we have the Hierophant. Now, the Hierophant is the fifth card of the major arcana. And here you see expressions of the five. You can see he's holding up two fingers, and on the other side on his staff, he's got three little whatever they are up at the top. And so there's five. You also see triplicity. You also see three and the two. You see three levels in his crown, and you see the two pillars. There's your five. And then you see, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see the three pillars and the Hierophant, and then the 2 monks below. So there's your 5. But aside from that, you see triplicity. You see the 3 layers of the crown. You see the 3 whatever these things are up here on his staff or his scepter. You see again the 2 like you saw here. Here you see maybe the trees represent a doorway into new possibility, new legacy, to grow the legacy, to increase that. Here, you're in alignment with spirit here. This is about knowledge, tradition, and structure. This is about the creative element. You see knowledge, tradition, and structure, I guess. You see the three crosses on that on his white whatever this is. You see a similar pattern on the monks below, and theirs is yellow, right? A similar pattern of 3, a little bit different, but a similar pattern. So what this is basically saying is where there's good foundation, we can have good change. We can have positive change. This is really about the spirit within. It's about the whole. He's often thought of to be the holy guardian angel. I'm not sure. I believe this is oftentimes the Pope. I think it's also known as the Pope in other more really traditional decks. But the Hierophant is the spiritual teacher within. It's divine wisdom. It's mastery of knowledge, tradition, and structure. It's about patience, free choice, idealism. It can also though be, because it's a religious card in any sense, really, you're talking also a devotion to religious structure, which if you define who you are, in other words, if your set of principles come from religious teachings instead of just knowing that you're the creator embodied into form, then basically, if you're tying it to a particular religion, then this card can indicate the need for social approval or approval by your minister, or your pastor, or your priest, or your rabbi. It could indicate that type of a relationship. So within that construct, you're basically having all of that integrated into your life, basically. So here, if we look at that, then we may be looking at how all of that impacts our legacy, how that changes our legacy going forward, that awareness of the connectedness between all of us. How does that impact our sense of security, how we express that, how much we give to others? And I don't necessarily mean money-wise, just how much of ourselves we give to others, maybe our time, our presence, just our physical help with something maybe. Because wealth isn't always just about money. It's the wealth within. Are we filled with spirit, or are we just simply ego bound? What are we? Do we have the capacity to think about other people in the broader aspects of our life, or are we just simply concerned with self? And irrespective of how you feel about religion, religion tells you to think about others. So clearly, the concept of being able to think outside the self is involved in both the 9 and the Queen. Let's see if there's anything else that I've missed here. Yeah, the enlightened teacher, transmission of hidden knowledge. I wrote this one down. I don't remember who said this. The nail that affixes the macrocosm to the microcosm. This might be from Lon Milo Duquette. I'm not sure. But it's a very hermetic, Kabbalistic deck, basically. And so is the Rider-Waite, really, if you look at it. It's also known as the High Priest in other decks. probably the more pagan-oriented decks. Celtic-oriented decks would be known as the High Priest. So you'd have, the magician. You'd have sometimes, I guess, in the Thoth tarot, it's not the magician, it's the magus. So it depends on the deck, how these things are depicted, particularly in the majors. Sometimes they change the name, sometimes they change the order. Let's get a rune going though. But you even have overall a numerology of 5, because 9 and 5 is what, 14, and 14 reduces to 5. So there again, you have change, fulfillment. So if you look at it in terms of change leading to fulfillment, then obviously there's been change along the way in this woman's life. And now she has a sense of completion about her. And I really think that instead of a focus on the priest here and the obedience to that individual or to the church principles, I think that what this could be, if we take it out of that realm, I think that this has to do with societal interaction here. So it's not just simply about the individual, it's about a group as well here. So this could be your family. Again, this could be what's going on in the world right now, in our country right now too. It could be, maybe there could be something, just within your general community. But I get a sense of more here than just simply the individual. So here we have Kenaz, the 6th rune of the Elder Futhark. So again, higher self-enlightenment, seeing through source vision, clarity. It's also known as the torch. So this would then align well then with the Hierophant. So if we're thinking of ourselves in terms of the Hierophant within, or spirit, if we think of this as a spirit-oriented card, where higher self is informing this process, this whole notion of security and legacy and all of that, it sort of strips away the notion of greed and self-motivation and turns that into something a little more about unity consciousness and being aware of what we're doing to build our legacy. How are we doing that? Are we doing it on the backs of others, or are we doing it to help others? And it's funny, if you were to turn this on its side, you'd have the 5 would look like the Roman numeral would look like Kenaz, wouldn't it? So if you looked at it that way, change really does involve enlightenment, doesn't it? It also involves clarity. If we don't embrace it, if we don't wake up and see what's going on and see what's really happening, then we can't see how that impacts us. We can't either be part of it or say, oh no, that's not going to work for me, and then try to do something to change it maybe. Again, bringing more change and fulfillment to that moment. But let me look here. Kenaz is being the torch, being about spirit vision, basically. I mean, it's a fire element. It's about creativity. But being about clarity, being the torch, it's basically representative of the witch's power to know. There's 3 powers, or three pillars of the witch's pyramid. Four pillars of the witch's pyramid. I don't know what it's Monday. I'm not even awake, I don't think. Anyhow, I didn't sleep very well last night. We had a lot of weird rain. It's been coming in bands, and instead of just rain, so it's just constant, pitter pattering on the roof. It's a little drip here. It's a little drip there. It's a weird drip there. It's a weird sound there. And so it's like, what on earth is going on outside? Well, it's just raining, but it was keeping us up. So, but basically, Kenaz transforms creative energies, physical, spiritual enlightenment, purification, reveals secrets, awakens leadership skills and creativity, rune of openings, healing, well-being, love, stability, passion. Okay, when we know something, you have to dare, to know, to will, to keep silence, or whatever the order is. Anyhow, to know is typically about air, okay? But in this case, this is a fire element rune. And so in this case, to know is expressed in will. So when we know something, we're going to manifest it. And when we know who we are as extensions of source energy, as the creator manifested into form, when we understand the truth of who we are, when we know that truth, and the Hierophant is basically the divine teacher explaining all this to us. Now, we don't actually need a divine teacher explaining all this to us because we are that divine teacher. And that's the whole point. You know, we need to be that, and we need to remember that. So the change leading to fulfillment of remembrance of who we actually are. That's the link between Kenaz and the Hierophant. And then from there, we manifest our legacy accordingly. We aren't doing it in a way that is oppressive of others. We're not doing it in a way that is harmful. We're not doing it in a way that thinks only about self, but we're thinking about the greater good. We're thinking about the greater unified presence of all, that we're part of that, and that needs to matter. Changes again in our government. The woman who was responsible for caging the immigrant children has now resigned or was fired or something. It probably, she may have actually been fired and then she was allowed to resign. I don't know. It was, who knows how this stuff happens. The rumors are, though, she was actually fired. So I don't know if that's true. I hope so, you know, but it doesn't portend anything good. So I don't know. But there's an example of how you take and you say you're thinking about the greater good, which having immigration control, you know, a good immigration policy is thinking about the greater good, both of this country and of immigrants coming here. A few days ago, everyone could come. Now we're all full, right? So now this woman has been fired and or was allowed to resign, whichever. And you would hope that would portend something enlightening. But when Kenaz comes up, and when it's the Hierophant, I get a little nervous because it's like, whose perspective are we going to be living under now? Is it going to be one that's authoritarian and we all have to bend the knee, you know? Or are we all going to come together in unity consciousness and elevate society together? Because when we do that, then our own lives are elevated, right? If we're thinking about what's truly good for the greater good of all, we don't want to, you know, there was a, I'll just interject this because I saw a report where there's pictures of a little toddler who, when they were the families were forced to be outside under a bridge, they were sleeping on gravel. And there's bruises on this little baby's body, on his legs, from sleeping on gravel, because that's apparently who we are now. He wants you to bend the knee, and we're not going to do it, okay? We're not going to. What's happening at the border is outrageous. Should the Americans, should the U.S. welcome everyone who comes here? Probably not. You got to make sense out of how you do this. There has to be resources. There has to be jobs. There has to be, you know, I mean, obviously, right? That's why you have an immigration policy that makes sense. This that's happening now does not make sense. And the more he pushes, the more they come. And he doesn't understand that it's happening as a result of what he's doing. If he would stop, that would stop. It's funny how that works. you would see a lessening. Everything would settle down. But the more he pushes, the more they push back, right? Finding solutions in other countries to heal the problems in the other countries. Again, a greater societal world type of a vision that doesn't exist right now. Fix the problems in the other countries, they won't come here. There'll be no reason. They'll be happy. They'll be living prosperous lives. Their children will be safe. People will grow up and not have to worry about all the things they're having to worry about now. The solutions are there if we have the will to find that, if we see the clarity. But right now, this is a false sense of clarity. False solutions are being found that don't have anything to do with the real issue at hand. Instead, what it has to do with is a belief system, okay, that involves racism and an us versus them mentality. Unfortunately, if you look at the literal meaning of this, and from the religious standpoint, you're always in this hierarchical type of existence where you're relying on someone else to make those decisions for your own life. And we don't need that now. What we need is to be able to come together and create the abundance in a shared experience. And the security that we find here. This woman probably has a lot of the answers if people would just listen. But instead, we're listening to this. That I'm the all-seeing, I'm the holy, I'm the, what did some group, some Republican Jewish group just referred to him the other day as God? Really? Oh, you shouldn't have done that. You don't want to swell the head any more than it already is. So anyhow, when Kenaz comes up, it can mean that we need to see with clarity, or it could mean that there's something going on that we need to be seeing, that we're not seeing. If it's involved in the Hierophant, then we need to clarify what this whole experience is. What is knowledge, tradition, and structure? Where does it come from? Is it coming from something that's imposed on us, or is it coming from a general sense of right and wrong that we all know and understand? We know when we're doing wrong, we know when we're doing right. We don't need someone to tell us that. We don't. And we don't really need this structure either. We've come beyond that. Maybe we never needed it, Maybe humanity has always been in this position where it can find its own way. But the point is, when we're thinking about our security and our legacy, how are we getting there? Is it truly a sense of security, or is it an illusion? Is there something that's happening behind the scenes to give us the impression, i.e. tax cuts, that didn't actually pan out for anybody? Oh yeah, we're just going to let the ACA fall away and you won't have health care, but that's okay, because in 2020 we'll give you new ones when you reelect all of us. I don't think that's going to happen, and it shouldn't happen. So let's make it not happen. We need to solve these problems now. We need to come to the place where people can get on with their lives in a way that is safe and secure, and not in a situation where we have to be worried about anything other than the normal stuff we have to be worried about. It's not that we're looking for a utopian or an idyllic reality. We just don't want to be doing this all the time, thinking we have health insurance when the next day it's going to get taken away, because of some draconian idea that has no place in this world. We don't want to live that way. We do that, and then our safety and security is gone. Okay? And then this lady's not going to be doing what she's doing, and neither will the rest of us. So, in any event, check in. If there's something that doesn't seem right, it likely isn't. Look beneath the surface of all of this. Are we getting to this point in a way that really serves our purposes, or is an illusion being cast in front of our eyes? Magic takes a lot of different forms. When you cast a spell, you cast an intention. Oftentimes you speak words. What, you think someone standing up at a podium isn't casting a spell when they're telling you what they want you to believe? Of course they are. It's what we do. We communicate. We're casting spells. We're casting our intention. of our own belief out into the world, into that conversation. Words matter. Words have power. They can affect things. It's what you say, what you don't say, however you choose to communicate, verbally, non-verbally. It's all a spell. It's all casting of someone's intention into the mix to see if it will have an effect. Whether you're trying to persuade somebody to do something, trying to persuade my husband to go to the store. Let's go to the store. But we need to go to the store because of all of this. Well, I'm casting an intention. He's either going to do it or he's not, right? He usually does. But the point is that that's what we're doing. So when we think of it in terms of legacy, what message are we sending of how we create that? Is it one where we're on bended knee, pledging fealty to the guy in charge? Or do we open our eyes and see the truth for ourselves? So there you go. I don't know any witch out there that doesn't have an activist mentality. I really don't. So anyhow, it is what it is. So today's Monday. I'll be back tomorrow. But here's the thing. My husband has a 9 a.m. optometry appointment at the Bend VA clinic. So I'm going to do this after we get back. So I will be late posting it. So I'll apologize in advance. He also has another 9 a.m. with his regular doctor up there on Thursday. So this is going to happen again on Thursday. So tomorrow, so Tuesday and Thursdays, videos will be posted a little later. I'll do them as soon as we come home. And he's not going to be there that long. It's only like a 30-minute appointment. So, I mean, heck, I might be back in time to even start this about this time. So anyhow, it might not be that late. But on Thursday, he doesn't get in all the time right away. So even though it's a 9 a.m., I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So it might not be that late, but it could be a little bit later. Anyhow, so don't worry. That it'll be up. I won't not do them. So anyhow, these are just routine appointments. Nothing that's going on with him or anything. So anyhow, I guess that's it. So thank you so much for coming by. Do click subscribe. I'd love you to do that and come back. I'd love you to do that as well. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming. Check out the blog, Stepping Aside, over at imsteppingaside.com. The transits are up. They're going to go up again today. So I'll be writing that today. And I guess that's it. I didn't do anything else. I'm thinking about doing another piece, a couple of them, but one I think I might not do. But one I think I'm going to do on homeschooling. We ultimately homeschooled our kids, and I want to probably talk about that a little bit. And just from a mom's perspective, looking back, how I felt about it, how I feel about it now, and what I went through as a mom through it. We think about it from the kid's perspective. We don't always think about it from mom's perspective. And so I just wanted to talk about what the feelings I went through, helping them to make this decision and making this the decision to pull them out and do it. They weren't, my youngest had finished 4th and my oldest had finished 7th. And so we just decided they were gifted. And so we decided to pull them out and just let them finish at home. I wasn't happy with the environment at school. I didn't feel it was particularly respectful. I didn't really feel like they were getting what they needed. And so we just decided to do this at home. And I thought it went well. I don't know how they feel. I think they probably liked it, but I'm sure pros and cons. And so anyhow, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. So I'll probably do that this week, write that up and post that. I'll let you know when I do though. So check that out when it goes up, because I think that's what I'm going to do. I don't think I'm going to do the other one. I'll do that one. In addition to the moon information, it's a little more than just moon stuff. I mean, it does talk about aspects and everything, but it's more from a witch perspective, so that if you were to look at it, you could look at it and find, what the elements were like, whether or not it was, a favorable day for magic or what, because there's a section on magical workings and stuff. So that's really what it's geared toward. I'm not an astrologer. I like astrology. I can interpret. I have a degree in psychology, which is why I can interpret astrology. So they're not so different. So I kind of find fulfillment there, to have some of that in it. And and just to be able to look at something and figure it out. It's like a puzzle. So I like that. Anyhow, so I do those every couple of days. I'll put one of those up. So there's that. And then sometimes I write about herbs, and because I'm an herbalist, and so there's lots of things on there. Sometimes I do stuff on cannabis. I'm a cannabis patient, and I'm a grower, so I do stuff there. And also I'm a Reiki master. So sometimes I talk about that, not a lot, but I do a little bit. And then I also talk about being an empath. So that's on there as well. So check that out if you like. I don't know if you're interested in looking at strange witch blogs, but that's what it is. Anyway, there's a grimoire on there. There's a materia medica. There's all kinds of stuff on there. It's vast. So anyhow, it's a pretty involved site. So my Amazon storefront is not active. I have to contact them and find out what's going on. But it's like it's under maintenance. It's like, no, not really. Why? What happened? So sometimes, we get these, like WordPress did this major update, and it likely has to do with that. Excuse me. And I just need to get the right language to put on that page so that the whole thing shows. But anyhow, so that's not active, but it will be eventually as soon as I get around to doing it. Anyhow, so okay, so that's it. So again, I might be a little late tomorrow and Thursday, but I will be here. So good deal. So thanks again for coming by. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.